Hello, hello, hello. Hello, hello, hello.
There's a new creation, a new Unmade podcast item, piece of merchandise that I'm really very, very excited about.
You are quite the artisan when it comes to the Unmade podcast merchandise.
I'm more of an overseer. I don't actually do the art. I have the vision, and then I let the artisans do the art.
Well, that's what Michelangelo said too, because he had
Yeah.
underlings helping and so forth. You're being humble. You really are an artist. You have vision. You do have vision.
In fact, one of my humility is one of my great strengths.
It is. It is. I've been always impressed with your humility. I know you've always been impressed with your own humility as well.
Yeah, I have many strengths. Humility is just one of them.
Artistic vision is one. Humility is another.
I'll tell you what one of my strengths is not, though, and that is working with leather. But luckily, I've met someone who is quite good at working with leather. There's a leather guy who is near me, and he's opened up a workshop, and I have had him craft for us Unmade podcast leather keyrings.
Wow. I thought you were going to say leather pants, but I'm glad you've gone with key rings.
We haven't got the pants yet, but I rule nothing out. I reserve the right. But let me show you on the screen.
Yeah. Oh, that is beautiful. That is lovely. Look at that. That's class.
So let me tell you, this has been made by Steve at Nelson and Forge.
Oh, yes.
I've got a video of it being made, so people can go and watch. Let me play some of the sounds now. This is just some of the sounds of the keyring being made for people to listen to. I know what you're thinking, Tim. I can already read your mind. I know what your first question's going to be.
What?
Humour me.
Are these going to be for sale or as gifts?
Oh, man, you're so crass.
Oh, sorry.
It's not about money. It's not about gifts.
No,
it's about the art.
What was my first question going to be? Do they match your boots? Did you get a whip? What about a knapsack? All I want is a knapsack.
Tell me about the tannery where these leather was made.
Oh, that goes without saying. Tell me about the tannery.
This leather comes from Britain's only oak bark tannery. It's in the county of Devon. It's been run by the same family for 150 years.
Wow.
I assume multiple people. I assume there hasn't been one person for those whole 150 years.
He'd have skin like leather.
He really was. And it's been the site of a tannery since Roman times.
Wow. So that's fantastic. What
does it cost?
just how do I get one? Come on, you.
We will come to that.
So the leather, what is the leather from? Do you know?
Like it's a cow.
It's a cow, yes.
It was a 14-month colouring process using this oak bark colouring process, which helps preserve the fibre of the leather, apparently. It's a very special colouring process. And here's the best bit.
Yeah.
That colour, how would you describe that shade of colour to the civilians?
It's a dark brown, but I could get a bit more creative and talk about it. Yeah, like a wood.
Go on.
It's sort of a leather colour, isn't it? Really, it's
leather.
it's brown
leather.
Yes, like a comfort craftsman R.M. Williams boot, but
yeah.
Yeah.
This shade of colour, which is used in the horse bridle industry, its official name is Australian nut.
Look at that. Beautiful. That does look lovely Australian, doesn't it? It's got a lovely familiar sort of feel.
So people can have their very own Australian nut Unmade podcast, handcrafted leather keyring.
As worn by light horsemen in World War I.
Really? As used to unlock Brady's door.
Yeah, and you're Australian. Wow.
Yes.
There's something real and authentic about leather. Like, do you hold it and just smell it?
It also smells lovely.
Oh,
it smells like
that's great.
It smells like a mixture of new boots Or when you open your cricket bag and it's full of all new equipment and you haven't got it all sweaty yet, so it still smells leathery and not like opening a sweaty sauna box.
Yes.
It's a lovely smell. It smells like new R.M. Williams boots.
Yeah. Or a nice new belt. Oh, lovely.
Yeah.
Makes you proud to be Australian, doesn't it? That's great.
It does. It makes me proud to be an Australian nut. So, obviously, I will send a couple of these to you for your personal leather collection, because I know you like a bit of leather. But you did ask the question, how does one obtain one of these? Mm-hmm. The plan so far is that they are going to be exclusively given to Patreon supporters.
Wow. Good stuff.
Go to patreon.com/unmadefm, become a Patreon supporter. The first 10 we're giving away will be announced later in the episode. Oh. So hang around.
So these people will get them at the same time as me.
Yeah, and they'll still have that really fresh, leathery smell. I'm getting high on this here, man.
Have you ever thought about just getting a saddle and just having it at home, just so you can throw it over something and go woo?
No, just mount it in front of my desk here at my computer and just sit doing all my work in a saddle. That'd be awesome.
Then when we start our recording, we go, all right, giddy up, here we go. You can sort of kick the chair.
But also, like, I'd be walking downstairs with a weird limp, having saddle soreness from a big day of editing.
What have you been doing today? I've been working on the podcast. Oh,
working hard all day. I'd have to have stirrups as well and stuff like that, and like reins, so that when I'm not typing and I'm just like watching something, I can just hold the reins. Yeah. And at the end of the day, I just give my computer a little tickle underneath. Go, there you go, big fella. Good work today.
Scratch on the neck.
Yeah.
Good. Whoa. Easy, boy.
Easy. That was a big edit.
And then you climb off and then take the saddle with you and carry it back. Put it back at its home in the cupboard.
Tie the electrical cable in the computer over like a wooden rail so my computer doesn't run away while I'm in the saloon.
That's right. Give it an apple.
Saloon of the week. I hadn't thought of that one.
Oh, Saloon of the week, yeah.
The Saloon of the week will have a spittoon of the week.
That's true, yes.
Keyrings. So first keyring recipients will be announced later in the episode.
Lovely work. Good vision. Nice vision.
Nice. I think you're going to like these.
Yeah.
I like it.
Oh, totally.
Yeah. Are you going to use it as your official... What's your official keyring at the moment?
My keyring at the moment is... Actually, funnily enough, it's from London. It's from Damien Hirst's exhibition at the Museum of Modern Art, from the art gallery, from the Tate Modern. I mean, is that I got in London. So it says it's got a piece of modern art there, which is called "For the Love of God," and it's for the love of God. This is like uber modern art, and he's got like a skull that was covered in something like 1,000 diamonds, so it's worth a ridiculous amount of money.
Yeah.
But and he called it For the Love of God, which I don't know, because I kind of like the irony of it being modern art and for the love of God. That's kind of a good statement as a minister. So I've had that as my keyring for probably 10 years.
Time to trade that bad boy in, Tim.
Oh,
time to upgrade.
Yeah. Upgrade to leather.
Some real modern art.
That is some unmade. Imagine if we moved into saddles and so forth.
Handmade in a leather shop. What's the name for a leathery place?
Didn't you say a tanner, or is it the tanner?
Well, the tanner is where they make the leather, but the person who actually then cuts the leather and makes it into the Steve. I don't know what he's not a leathersmith.
And they're not a cobbler. That's when it's specifically boots, and I think
that's shoes. Yeah, he's a keyring monger.
That's true. Does he? What else? Does he make boots, or does he make all sorts of stuff? He does do shoes.
He does like a shoemaking course. I went and made some leather trainers at his on a course with him. So you can do shoes. I made my own handmade shoes. I
think of all the, when you think about people who have jobs, and people have all sorts of different jobs.
Unlike us.
That's right. Let's say they're making YouTube clips and podcasts and like being a minister of the church and stuff. But they have like a real job. Of all the real artists, real crafty jobs, I reckon a cobbler it's just one of those real primal ones where I'm almost envious of how crafty and real and authentic it sort of is. You must just walk away.
It's only one down from being a blacksmith.
Oh, well, that is quite extreme.
I mean, making horseshoes, that's real work.
Yeah. That's what I was going to do, but I didn't get into it at uni, so I had to settle for being a minister.
Imagine that, just wanting to make horseshoes really badly.
That's right. That was my thing. Yeah, there's nothing more fun than watching people shoe a horse. Just general horse husbandry is always enjoyable to watch.
Parish notices. Kent F wrote an email. Tim, have you jumped on the AI bandwagon yet? Are you all into the AI?
No, I'm resisting. I'm like,
you strike me as someone that would be well into it.
Oh no way, no, not at all.
No.
And every second presentation I go to these days, where they say, well, because I'm in academic circles. Well, I want to talk about AI, so I went on to Chat TP3 and I wrote or CP3 and I wrote in presentation on AI for this conference, and this is what I mean. Like they do the whole double meta thing, and it's just like, yeah, okay,
yeah,
right. Yeah, right.
I don't want to insult you, Tim, because I think you're a good preacher, but I think general preaching and ministering is something that very easily could be done by AI. Because I've sat through a lot of sermons in my time,
yes,
and they're so the same. They're
yes.
so samey. They're made for these chat AI things that can just like write things that sound generic but sound real. Like I think writing sermons would be the easiest thing in the world for an AI.
Yes, absolutely, it would. Yeah, short 30-minute presentation on something. Yeah. And they may be an improvement for many of us, to be honest.
Yeah, maybe. Anyway, Kent F wrote, Brady and Tim, I think you will find this interesting and or comical. Do with it what you will. I prompted Chat GPT with, tell a story of Brady and Tim getting KFC. Here is the result. I'm not going to read the whole thing because, frankly, I find them really boring to read, these AI things. They managed to have a lot of well-crafted words and sentences without actually saying anything. Which is kind of like, which is also why I think they'd be brilliant at sermons. But here's some of what the Chat GPT wrote about you and I getting KFC. Brady and Tim approached the counter, eyes scanning the menu board adorned with tempting array of chicken options. The decision was not easy, for every option seemed equally enticing. After a brief moment of deliberation, they made their choices. A bucket of original recipe chicken, crispy fries, and creamy coleslaw. As they waited for their order, Brady and Tim exchanged stories and laughed, reminiscing about their shared adventures. The anticipation grew with each passing moment, and finally, their feast was ready. With their mouths watering, they found a cozy booth and settled in. The moment had come. They opened the bucket, revealing a treasure trove of golden brown chicken pieces, perfectly seasoned and crispy. Their taste buds danced with delight as they savoured each bite, relishing the harmony of flavours and the satisfying crunch. Between mouthfuls of succulent chicken, Brady and Tim shared their dreams, discussing future projects and brainstorming new ideas. The meal became a catalyst for inspiration, fueling their creative spirits and strengthening their bond as friends and collaborators.
Is this like a Danielle Steele romantic novel or something?
I know. I don't think ChatGPT understands how focused we would have just been on the chicken.
Yes, that's right.
It's like, are you going to eat that one?
I don't want to hear from you or anything else.
There would be no reminiscing. There would be no brainstorming. There would be, that gravy's mine.
Do you know what I think that is? That version is the version that our wives hear when they hear us tell anecdotes. It's like, yeah, it's just like, snore, here we go. It's the boring.
Yeah,
great. It's like this story. Yeah.
The real story would be, Brady ate a drumstick. Tim ate one as well. Then they had the chips. Shall we get more? Yeah, go on.
Absolutely. Continue to eat. Focused, yeah. It is about the chicken. What about you? You're not into the AI, or you are, but
no, I haven't really been following it. I should. I know I should. And there are lots of tools in AI that would make my work easier, maybe with video editing and picture editing and audio, but I just haven't. I haven't got time to learn new stuff, really. Like, I'm too busy doing my current stuff.
I feel like here's something that's going to change everything and not for the better. Like, this will be a thing where it's like, oh, yeah, this is not, I don't like this. And
Like Twitter.
I don't mind Twitter. I hate Facebook. It's going to be like, oh, this is going to be a thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a bit like I haven't got. Maybe we're just getting too old for things now.
Yeah. You can't teach old dogs new tricks.
No.
We're just a couple of Australian nuts.
We are a couple of old dogs.
Old leathery Australian nut keyrings we are. Do you remember in the previous proper episode, Yaniv from Israel showed us his magic spot on his chin, that if he rubbed his chin in a certain spot, just touched his chin, he would just spontaneously get hiccups?
Yes, I do. Was it the hiccups or yawn? It was the hiccups.
It was hiccups.
Okay.
It was hiccups. It would trigger a hiccup fit. Yeah. So we've heard from many people that want to tell us about parts of their body you can touch to trigger reactions.
Wow.
As is Borashed said, I have the same hiccup spot on my chin. I thought I was the only one, when I recently learned that my brother and one of my friends both have a hiccup chin spot.
Gosh.
I really, really hate getting hiccups. I'm always careful when I dry my beard not to trigger it.
Wow.
This sounds like it's a real thing. There's a point
gosh.
on your chin that gives you hiccups. This is amazing.
That's phenomenal. That's bizarre.
The H spot, we called it, remember?
That's funny, to not go looking for it, but to actually be careful because it can set it off. I don't.
I haven't got it.
No.
I don't think I've got it. Tim and I are both prodding our beards at the moment without success.
No.
Okay.
I feel like we need to verify this somehow.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, it's verified. We've had so many people talking about it. We also heard from Being the Hunt on Reddit. In response to your call out for other people who have a magical part of their body that can be pressed to cause a physical reaction, I can stroke the skin of my arm or torso and I will get goosebumps only on that side of my body, with a perfect line down the center of my chest and stomach between where I have goosebumps and where I don't. And he or she has read online about other people that get this. So you touch your arm or your torso and you get goosebumps just down half your body with a perfect line down the middle, separating line, like a goosebump equator or a goosebump international date line because it's vertical.
And is it
Greenwich Meridian of goosebumps? Is
it true then that I always remember as a kid the left side of your brain takes care of the right side of your body, and then the right side is that true? Or because I know there's other things are left brain and right.
There is truth to that. Yeah.
So there is a dividing line down the middle of us. Perhaps that's the welding bit when we were put together. That's the seal bit, and he's got.
There is a bit of that. Gosh. BHJZ said, on the theme of magical parts of our bodies that can be pressed for some kind of physical reaction, I have a particular area on the back of my head, just where it meets the neck and very slightly to the left, where if I pull the hair, I will sneeze. And regarding pranks, yes, most of my close friends and my long-term partner find it hilarious and have in the past pulled it to make me sneeze. Luckily, I'm balding, and so I keep my hair so short now, it's hard to do. But I still am able to do it myself by rubbing and pulling at the short hairs in the area. So just on the back of your neck, where your head's meeting your neck, to the left there. Give that a yank and you get a sneeze. I'm not getting it.
No. I wonder if it's an anatomical thing or if it's somehow a psychological thing, where the brain remembers a moment from, I don't know, from an early on when they had to sneeze when this happened. And I don't know.
Good question. I like this. I like this idea of all these magic buttons on our body, that
serve no purpose whatsoever. It's funny, everyone seems to be quite annoyed. They go to lengths to avoid it happening. It's not like a magic power where you're like, when I push my elbow, I can fly.
You haven't got any? There are no buttons on your body?
No, there's not. No. I'm trying to think. I, of course, would know, but...
Are you ticklish?
Yes, I am. On the tops of my knees or on my leg, just there. So if we're driving along and she reaches over and, my wife touches the top of my leg, I can't handle that. I'll veer off the road before...
Yeah, I've got this point on the top of my knee that if you touch it, I crash a car.
That's right. That's exactly right. Yeah. No, I'm not good with that. I'm tickling on my feet as well. Yeah, I can. I mean, no one's tickled my feet for nigh on 30 years, but I can remember.
Oh man, I'm sorry. I promise when I come to Australia later this year, I'll tickle your feet.
Thanks, man. That's great. That's great. It's all we do down here. We don't have much entertainment here in Australia. We just sort of tickle our feet, and,
Once every 30 years, someone tickles my feet.
That's all right. That's all the excitement we need. What about you? Are you ticklish?
I was ticklish. You seem to get less ticklish as you get older. It probably is just because people stop tickling you.
Yeah, you're just going. Are you just numb all over now? Is that right? You're just sort of parts of you shutting down.
I'm just numbed by life and the lack of sleep.
It's that leathery skin now. We're just mainly leather, halfway to the tanner ourselves, really. And if you prod us, it just
I think I am ticklish though. My thing I don't like is I don't like being touched on places that I feel are vulnerable for like death reasons. Like but not like I'm going to get killed, but like that feel like vulnerable parts of my body because of like veins and like I don't like being touched on my wrists where the veins and that are, or my neck, or like right on the middle of my chest where my heart is. I don't like being touched on those places that would be vulnerable to like, stabbing or attack. Not that I just don't like being touched there at all. Like I hate having my pulse taken. I can't handle it.
Wow.
Yeah.
I quite like it. I like someone holding my hand and right. Let's unpack that for the next hour or so. That's interesting.
All right.
Have you had any operations? Have you had an operation where you've been, cut open?
No.
No?
I've never been cut open.
Oh, no. That's interesting.
Have you?
Yes.
Yeah?
My testes didn't come down, so...
Yeah. It was a tough period for you in your 30s. I'm totally leaving that. How old were you?
I was a little kid.
So you can't remember it?
I can remember being in hospital.
Oh, so you were old enough. It wasn't like you were newborn. You you'd gotten... Oh, what, they just had to yank them down, did they?
And yeah.
Well, that's a delicate one.
Well, that's right. It is. Yeah, but it's I also had another operation on my hand. Do you remember I got an infection? I remember you coming to visit me. This is in 1996. I got a burn in my finger, my left pointy finger and index finger, and then it got infected. And I think because I went and I was doing night fill at the supermarket, which is just like places just covered in germs and stuff. But it sort of blew up infected, and I had a terrible night, couldn't sleep. It was so hot and painful. It was blown up like a balloon. And then I went to the doctor the next day, and he sent me to emergency, and the emergency doctor looked at it and said, "We're operating today to try and save your hand." And I was like, wow.
God.
So I went straight. He said, "When did you last eat?" Like it was that quick. And to get me in to operate. And then I woke up, however many hours later, and there's this massive, there was bandages everywhere, but over the next couple of days as they changed the bandages, I could see there was this massive opening scar all the way down my hand. It's a bit like the Harry Potter scar, except it's down the inside of my palm, my index finger, rather than on my forehead.
Right. Do you have like a lightning scar on your testes? Do you think we'll get a lot of clicks on this episode if we call it Tim's Testes?
I can't breathe. I tell you what, now we know why we're called the Australian nut. Yeah, well, that conversation took a while. Anyway, I've still got the scar on my hand, which I kind of like that scar on my hand.
Yeah, that's cool.
That's a cool
Do you ever
scar.
tell people it's like a shark attack or something?
No, I once told a kid that I'd caught a bullet, that someone had shot a bullet, and I'd caught it in my hand, and that had caused the scar.
Awesome.
The kid was so impressed with that. And then
You look impressed. Like the look on your face, you look like really proud that you caught a
when you
bullet.
get away with a story, it's almost like it kind of did happen, like it's almost like it kind of did happen. And I can visualize it in the lie. But
do you sometimes tell people you caught a bullet with your testes?
this is not staying in. This is not staying in.
I gotta keep some of it.
Oh, this.
We gotta keep. You're only a little baby.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, they needed 4 surgeons to get him down. It was for the doctor. It was like that moment in Raiders of the Lost Ark. He turned around and this massive boulder was rolling towards him. I could just see the look on the doctor's face as he turns around, like Indiana Jones. Here they come. Oh dear. All right. All right, Tim, this idea is kind of half-baked. Surprise, surprise.
Oh, yep, good work. Yep.
I haven't decided what to call it yet because I'm not sure which direction the idea is going to go.
Oh, yes.
But let me tell you where it comes from. I was watching a bit of football recently, and there's a bit of a tradition in football, soccer football this is, that at the end of a game, particularly if it's a big game or an important game or a team you don't play very often, that the players at the end swap shirts. They take off their shirts and swap them with their opponent, and you keep your opponent's shirt as like a memento of the game. And a lot of players have like shirts of famous players they've played against on display in their homes, you know. And if you're playing against someone really famous like Cristiano Ronaldo or Lionel Messi, everyone wants that shirt. That's the shirt you want to swap with at the end.
Yep.
Traditionally, you might swap shirt with the player who you were against, like who was marking you in that game. But there's no rhyme or reason as to who gets the shirt. Everyone wants the shirt of the famous player. Anyway, that got me thinking, like, imagine if like you had a podcast where you swapped shirts at the end, like after you've presented together or you've had a guest, like you swap shirts, like, you know, thanks for being on the show. And at the end, you take off your shirts and things like that. So that's where I was just starting with this sort of grain of an idea of a podcast where you swap shirts with your guests, which I thought would be quite funny.
Yeah.
So seriously.
Yeah.
But then I got thinking, my mind just started wandering, and I thought, wouldn't it be interesting to do, maybe it's more of a video or a TV thing, but it could also be a podcast where you swap wardrobes with someone for a week? Like, I spend a week just dressing in all your clothes and you spend a week dressing in all my clothes. And at the end of the week, you talk about what was it like, you know, wearing the shirt off someone else's back.
Yeah.
What would you think about swapping wardrobes with someone?
I like that idea. Do you know why I like it? Because it strikes a chord with me. I remember staying in my cousin's house, like house sitting 20 years ago or something, when he went on a long holiday for like 2 weeks. And I was a single guy, so I came and stayed in their house. And I wore a couple of his jumpers. And there was one I just loved wearing. It's like, I love this. And it's almost like I love it so much I want to keep it. But it was kind of like, wow, I'm in his, like, I was a really nice jumper, an expensive jumper. And it was just like fun to wear it. And I remember thinking, this is like, I want to go out and I'm going to wear that. And I was thinking about where I could go out to wear it because I was enjoying wearing it so much. It was just such a lovely jumper. And it would be funny just to step into someone else's whole wardrobe for a week. And yeah, that would be really interesting.
I borrowed a jumper off someone once, you know, because I was out somewhere and it was cold and they just said, oh, here, I've got a spare jumper. And I remember thinking it was a great jumper, better than any I owned, and wearing it 3 or 4 times before I gave it back.
Yeah, I know you
And like not wanting to give it back because I thought, this is why, like, and you know, I could buy that jumper. I could buy any jumper in the world within reason.
Yeah.
And yet it's always someone else's jumper you want more. Yeah. Yours are no good. Like, other people's clothes are always better than your clothes. I don't know why that is.
Oh, man.
How would you feel about wearing my clothes for a week?
Oh, yeah, you're all right dresser. You wear, I guess, I mean, you know what I mean? We don't dress too dissimilarly in a way.
Nah. I dress a lot better since I got married and just wear what my wife tells me.
Yeah. You do.
Yeah.
Yes, that is true.
You can definitely look at photos of me and tell if it's pre or before I met my wife.
I think you always dressed pretty standard. You know what I mean? Like, I think you dressed
I was a safe dresser. Yeah.
You were sort of like, you know, like a guy of your age in an American sitcom kind of dressed guy. You know what I mean? Like you're sort of dressed standard, atypical. And what I mean by that, you were never captured by some subculture. You were never sort of like, oh, he's wearing grunge, or he's a heavy metal guy, or he's a hip hop guy, or, you never. You
were a little bit more, because you're so into like music and music culture, you're sometimes a little bit more susceptible to trying to be cooler than you are.
Oh, totally. Yeah. And so it's always, you sort of live into a little bit of the person you're really into at the time. And I was a bit more swayed by that, I say. Probably still am a little bit. But I dress pretty standard these days. Like I wear black T-shirt and I got 4 pairs of jeans, and I'm pretty like almost deliberately a non-event. But I do love warm cardigans. I love cardigans. So that would be something you'd have to take on board. And
have you got like a friend or someone you know who you wish you dressed like them? Like you say, they're always just they always just dress better than me.
That's a good question. I do notice a little bit. I think probably back 20 years ago, there was a bit of that with my cousin. Like it was a bit like, oh, he looks cool and this is his jumper. So I think there was a bit of that with him, but not now.
No.
So someone who dresses. Yeah, but it's more. I don't know. I think it's different items on different people. Like you say, oh, that's a nice shirt. Like I like a well-worn shirt. If a shirt's looking good on someone and fits right and perfect, you go, that's good. Because shirts always feel awkward on me, and they're all wrong, and they're not tucked in properly, or they're hanging wrong.
Yeah.
So I admire someone who can wear a shirt well.
Like I've got a few people who, like, I might go out with, like, mates or, husbands of friends and stuff like that, and I think they dress better than me and they got cooler clothes than me and stuff. But I do look at it and think, but I couldn't wear that. Like if I turned up wearing that, I wouldn't. It wouldn't feel right. I don't think I could. I wouldn't feel comfortable. I couldn't pull it off. And like I look at it and think that's cooler than what I'm wearing, but I don't think I could wear it.
Well, part of it is because you'd be feeling pretentious because you're pretending to be cooler than you are, because it didn't arise out of your own taste, because you saw it on someone else. It feels, if I put that on, it feels like an artificial experience because I'm trying to, you know what I mean? You're trying to be them. It wouldn't fit right. It wouldn't come out of your Bradiness.
But what clothes do you wear that you don't, see on someone else in some context, that some, or at least influenced by seeing other people wearing that kind of clothes?
No, entirely. That's where all our desires come from someone else. There's a philosophy in this. All our desires are mimetic desire, which means mimic. They're imitated. We get all our desires from the things we see around us, and we go, I want that and I want to be like that. They don't arise out of our own imagination, They arise out of imitating someone else, even if it's bits and pieces from different people.
So if we swap shirts at the end of this episode, you're getting this white T-shirt with the Dreamville logo written across it, which was my pajama T-shirt last night, I'm afraid.
Well, you'll have to wash it before you give it to me, that's for sure.
You would want to wash this, I think. And what would I be getting off you? Sort of that green sweatery type thing?
I've just got a black T-shirt. I've got like about 8 of these black T-shirts that I put on every day.
Yeah.
And then I have a jumper. It's just quite a nice jumper, Uniqlo.
That's a nice jumper.
Yep.
Yeah.
This is a Brady, not un-Brady-like jumper.
I like it.
I got some black jeans.
That's a good swap. No, we're not swapping jeans and shorts or anything.
Right. Okay.
Just shirts. Yeah. All right.
And
keep those testes under wraps, man. Now, Tim, it's time for a very special segment. A segment people love and know. Do you want to sing it this week? Because you're taking the reins this week.
I can.
What's this segment called?
Cartoon of the Week.
Cartoon of the Week.
Yes. Well, I know this is a favourite part of the episode. Everyone looks forward to Cartoon of the Week. And this week I've been thinking through all sorts of cartoons. And I tell you, geez, it's hard to come down on something. And I've locked it down to 2. Should I ask you to pick one, or should I just go with what I want to do?
You go with what you want. What's Cartoon of the Week?
Cartoon of the week this week is Bluey.
Man, good choice. Because my little boy has just gotten. Well, he doesn't really understand it or watch it, but I've been watching some Blueys, and I've got something to say about Bluey. But you take the lead first. It's your segment. Tell people what Bluey is.
Bluey is an Australian cartoon, and if you know about Peppa Pig, it's a cooler Australian version of Peppa Pig in a way for about the same age group, except it has a level of sophistication that means that adults enjoy it as well. I think it's a really, really clever series. It's recent. It's now, like it was started in 2018, and it all surrounds a blue heeler, which is an Australian dog called Bluey. She's a blue heeler, and the whole family are blue heelers.
Yeah, there's Dad, Mum, Bluey, who's the boy, and Bingo, who's the little girl dog.
That's right. And the dad and Mum are Bandit and Chili, and they're a little family, and they live in a Queenslander home, Queensland being a state of Australia, and Queenslander being a house that's typical there, big Australian home up on stilts and, with a big backyard.
There are no humans in this show. It's all about, like, dogs are humans that live in houses and, yeah.
Yep. And they just go through life as a little family with the kids learning. And it's all about kind of Bluey and Bingo and learning lessons and little morals and little elements. But the wonderful feature, there's features all the way through it of the little quirks of what it means to be a family with little kids. And it's so endearing and it's so lovely. And it has lots of little quintessential Australian bits and pieces in it that Australians would pick up. But I think it seems, in their own way, are quite endearing to people around the world as well.
It's massive in the UK. It's a huge, huge show in the UK.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Tim, I watched 2 episodes of Bluey back to back the other day. I was with my little boy. He wasn't really paying attention. He was just playing with toys or whatever he was doing. But I ended up watching them, just sitting on the sofa watching 2 episodes. And usually here on the BBC, they play 2 back to back. Because it's such a short show, they usually show 2 episodes back to back. I watched these 2 episodes. Both of them had me crying at the end.
Yeah, I know. They're so...
they were so emotional and touching and heartfelt, with such a great lesson taught in such a brilliant way. The first one, I had a little cry at the end. The second one had me in pieces. It was brilliant. I think it was an episode called Camping, when Bluey goes camping with his family and makes a little friend. And it's about how you make these friends on a camping trip and you may not see them again and stuff. It was fantastic. So moving.
It's worshipped in our house, and some new episodes have come out, like 1 per week, and it's like, it's up, come and have a look. That's the cry that goes up.
Because your girls, I would have thought, were too old for Bluey.
But they've been watching Bluey since, for the last few years, but they love it, and I love it too. It's just the same as you, and they hold on to these things. For them, it's nostalgic, but they genuinely they're still into it totally. And I think it really because it's so sincere, and there's a few things about it that I really, really love. Because it's so sincere, it works for different ages, because it's not like, oh, I grow out of that lesson. The lesson becomes more true as you get older, whatever little lesson she learns.
You look at it through the parents, like the parent dogs. You look at it through their eyes when you're... Because, like, the dad's a typical dad who sometimes is a bit lazy and doesn't want to have to do his duties as a parent. But then he kind of does, and he realizes it's his responsibility. He does it so well. And, like, it's very real.
Well, I think actually that's maybe one of the most unique and defining features of it, is that the dad is a positive figure. Like, you think about all these other cartoons, like American Dad and The Simpsons, that they're all the fathers are
Family Guy.
Awful. Family Guy, he's awful and lazy and terrible. He's a point of absolute derision. He's the worst of the family. Whereas this dad's like doing the dish. He's sincere. He wants to do the right thing. He's helping with
his kids.
He cooks. Like he's part of and he's a positive father figure, which is pretty rare on television these days, and is really refreshing and really lovely. And I really love that about it as well, because I see a lot of myself in him, where he's kind of ordinary. The other thing about him that's really lovely is he's voiced by a guy called David McCormick, who was in an Australian band called Custard that were really big in the 90s. So there's a whole lot of Gen X sort of dads like you and me, but who, if you're into music in the 90s in Australia, you know Custard, and you sort of know his voice, and you sort of... So it's this lovely little connection to someone like that as well. No one else would really know that. It's just that I don't know. It's a little, like I saw Custard a bunch of times in the pub, and so now him voicing the main character in my kid's favourite show is like a funny little nice connection as well. I really like that.
Nice. Good choice.
Bluey is the cartoon of the week.
If you've never seen it, check it out. It's a lovely, lovely show. All right. I promised we would give away some of these Australian nut handmade Unmade podcast keyrings to Patreon supporters. Patreon.com/unmadefm if you want to be in the running. Tim, I'm going to give away 10 right now.
10?
Some of them are going to our absolute top supporters who've been like the longest and most generous for the longest time.
Legends.
And half are also just completely randomized.
Nice.
No weighting or bias or anything, just totally random. If you're a Patreon supporter, you're a chance. Whether you've been a supporter for 10 minutes or 3 years. So, the following people can expect keyrings in the post and that lovely leathery smell. Tyler A. from the US, Axel from Denmark, Alan L. from Sweden, Bruce from Washington State, Siddharth, also from Washington State, Dylan P. from Florida, Kent from Los Angeles, Robin from Wakefield in England, Harry H. from New York State, and Kevin from Santa Barbara. You all have keyrings coming your way in the post. Enjoy them. And stay tuned to the podcast for more opportunities.
Well, that's what I was going to say. If people become a patron supporter now, there will be opportunities in the future as well.
Yes, there will be.
Yes.
There will be.
The answer is yes.
So,
fantastic.
They are coming.
Cool.
They are coming. Absolute collector's items.
Can I ask a question before we go on? You mentioned before Ronaldo, right, when you were talking about soccer. And
yes.
Can I just clarify, how many Ronaldos are there? Is there a Ronaldo?
There are two that are very, very super famous.
Right.
There's one who played for Brazil.
Right.
And led them to the 2002 World Cup.
Yep.
He's the one that had a couple of funny haircuts and a shaved head. He was a striker. And then there's Cristiano Ronaldo, who plays for Portugal. He's the current famous Ronaldo. He's also an attacking player. He's a bit taller, and he's probably got more runs on the board now. He's one of the great players. So, but there are two Ronaldos, and someone with your level of interest in soccer could become confused.
And how, if people are talking about Ronaldo, like imagine if there were two of the two best basketballers in the world in the 90s were both called Jordan. Wouldn't that be confusing?
Well, no, because the Brazilian one is just referred to as Ronaldo, just the one word, as many Brazilian players are. They're
Right.
like Pelé and Rivaldo. They tend to just become known by one name, whereas the Portuguese one is generally known as Cristiano Ronaldo. You know, he's known by both names. You would use his first name, in some contexts. Yeah, the Brazilian one retired quite some time ago and is now carrying a lot of timber.
Right.
Yeah.
A Maradona amount of timber, or
He did get quite overweight, like Maradona. Yeah, he's very overweight. Yeah. Great
right.
player in his day, though. Super player.
Cool. Okay. Well, that clarifies that's anyway.
So, Tim, have you got an idea for a podcast this week?
I do.
Oh, all right. I'm ready.
Yes, I do. You seem surprised that I'm surprised myself, to be honest.
I seem surprised because before we started recording, you told me you didn't.
No, I've thought of one. It's not on my list. It's inspired by something on my list. I've been scrolling back and forward through the list. But
Is it about people called Ronaldo?
I would like to interview everyone called Ronaldo in the world.
Yeah.
In the world. My idea, you can help me workshop it a little bit because it has just come to me. So it feels a little bit late. The idea that I had written down was about going back and working at a place where you had a part-time job when you were a teenager.
I love this idea.
Oh.
Just like going back and doing a job you used to do.
Yeah. Oh, okay. If that's a good enough, let's just stop there. That's my idea. That was my idea. That was
How are you going to undo that good idea?
with an amazing name first. I was going to pivot it more into a midlife crisis. Like, what other things do you want to go back and do from, you know what I mean, your teenage years that people do when they have like a midlife crisis in a film?
Yeah. All right. So you could go skateboarding and that sort of stuff.
Yeah. But
I just love the idea of going back and doing a shift of a job you did, like doing a shift of your first ever job. Like stacking, like you'd go back and stack the shelves at Foodland for a few hours.
Well, that's right. Well, I had a few part-time jobs. That wasn't the first, but that would be an example of one. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
for
You
sure.
could go and pump petrol at Mick's Scorepost, the petrol discount king on Marion Road.
That's the one I don't want to do. I don't know why I despise that job so much, but I don't want to do that one. Whereas when I go into a supermarket, I get an urge to like stack the shelves and clean things up a little bit. I hate pumping petrol. My first job actually, was delivering newspapers, which is a little bit boring. But after that, I did clean a butcher every Saturday afternoon, and that was a lot of fun.
The butcher shop, not the butcher himself, I hope.
Be under the arm, sir. There we go. Right, you're ready to
Cleaning
go.
the butcher.
Yes.
That must have been gruesome.
It was I went home saturatedly wet, but it was good fun. It was very satisfying and cleaning and a lot of fun. And yeah, I quite enjoyed it.
But you wouldn't go home covered in blood. You'd go home covered in water.
Yeah, it's the end of the day. So all the butchering's done earlier in the week. And this is Saturday afternoon. The last of it's being sold. You're helping to put it away in the freezer. Then you're wiping down the big counter. Or, you're sort of basically cleaning. And so it's just more, I just go home satch. There's big like hose that you'd blow across the shop floor and everything.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was good fun. Yeah, well, what about you? Now, listen, I think you only had one little part-time job there, didn't you?
I guess I was quite privileged in that way. I did stack supermarket shelves for a couple of shifts at a supermarket on North Adelaide, but I hated it.
Yes.
And didn't go back. Was it you who went and got my final pay packet for me?
I didn't. I know. We talked about, because you didn't even go back to get your final pay packet, and I thought about getting it for you.
That's right. They used to pay me in cash, like cash in an envelope, and I didn't go back and get my final one because I couldn't bear to even go back. So I only did a couple of shifts as that, so I wouldn't count that. The only job I had that was a sort of a part-time job was as what was called a copy boy.
Oh, yeah.
At the newspaper, which I just did one day a week. It was a job that had to be done. You were like an errand boy.
Yeah.
You were called a copy boy because your main job was taking copies of what the pages were going to look like when they'd been drawn up and designed by the sub-editors. You had to take them down to the photography area and the printers and stuff. So a lot of your job was just running up and down stairs and lifts. So you just hear someone call copy from across the newsroom and you'd run over and get the piece of paper and take it down to another thing. But you also just had to do all the errands. You ran things around the building. You went and bought everyone's lunches. You would sometimes have to place bets for the gambling addicts on the horse races and stuff. You were just like a dog's body. And these were jobs, because it was a weekend job, these were kind of jobs mainly for the kids of the people who work there.
Yeah.
So it was like favours for the boys. So everyone, like the 4 or 5 of us who worked there were all sons and daughters of people who worked for the newspaper. So my dad, I got the job through my dad. And I did that for a year or two until I actually got my cadetship as a proper newspaper journalist.
Yeah.
So that was the only job I ever did. And it wasn't like, I thought it was quite a fun job. I quite liked it. So it doesn't feel, it was a menial normal job. It was a proper job, but it doesn't feel like a job the way your jobs felt like jobs, where you were doing something really, that felt really sort of boring and menial and unfun to me. I know you had fun doing it, but
yeah, totally.
Yours felt more like real jobs.
I know. I mean, you being a copy boy, I know that kind of suited you a little bit more. To be honest, I remember going into the supermarket, probably to pick you up one day when you were in there working, and you were kind of pricing things, which was still that's how small the supermarket was.
Yeah, it was a poxy little supermarket. Yeah, you had those guns.
Pricing
that
guns.
Put the label of the
like
pricing gun. Yeah.
Yeah, and I remember seeing you do that and feeling pity for you, like, oh no, this isn't Brady. This doesn't work at all.
No.
Probably you were sort of doing it
getting my hands
slowly,
dirty.
and
I could have ended up needing surgery like you.
That's right. It was just like, I don't know, you were inefficient and slow. Yeah, I don't know. It was just all wrong. It was like, no, this is...
No, I'm not a fast worker. I can't work fast. Even now, like if it's my turn to clean the kitchen, sometimes my wife will just get sick of watching me do it so slowly and just say, oh.
Yeah, you do. I've seen you do. You are. Yeah, that's... What you do it fast and then it's done.
I'm methodical.
That's one word for it.
Yeah, but I'd love to go back and do a shift as a copy boy. That was a really fun job.
Yeah.
You know, you get to see all the pictures that are going to go in the paper before they go in, and watching the pages getting laid out. And
that's a dream. There's something about, I think, those jobs. If you go back and do them, there's a simplicity to them. You feel less pressure. I mean, you're getting like hardly any money. That's the thing. I mean, I got $4.50 or something, which for pumping petrol, but
Yeah.
I didn't also need anything really much. So it's a particular moment of life where
you lived like a king. I would dearly love to hear from the listeners, from the civilians out there, about some of your early jobs and how you would feel about going back and doing a shift now. Is it something you would relish, something you would loathe? What would it be like? Does the job even exist anymore? I imagine the copy boy job's really dying out now because there's not much need for moving documents around buildings so much.
Because they can
probably
email
still someone
them.
that has to go and buy their hamburgers at lunch, but that's about it.
Yeah. When you became a journalist and you had copy boys running around for you then, or firstly, were there copy girls or were they always copy boys?
Yeah, there were copy girls. There were copy girls who worked with me. Like, I call myself a copy boy because, they were copy girls. That's
Right,
what I called
okay.
them. But yeah, there were girls that worked with me.
And were you good
And
to
then I
them
became
because
a
you knew what
journalist.
it was like to be the one running around? Like, were you
I
kind
think
to
so.
them?
I mean, my job, most of the time I worked in the newspaper, I had less use for them. As a reporter, you don't have as much use for the copy staff as sub-editors do and the people who are laying out the pages and stuff. But I did, they delivered my post and stuff, and I'd always go and talk to them. I was friends with, I socialised with some of them, went out with some of them. Yeah, but I had a different, I probably looked on them in a more charming way because I'd done the job, so I felt like one of them in a way.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Good idea, man. Good idea. You pulled that one out of the bag.
Oh, gosh.
Going back and you haven't got a title for it yet, but I don't know what the title would be called. But
Part-time job.
extra
part-time
shift?
Job, extra shift. Yeah, one more shift or something.
the final shift.
The final shift.
Final shift?
There we go. Yes.
Yeah. Get in touch, people. Remember also patreon.com/unmadefm. We're still going to be giving away other stuff still, like spoons and cards and all that sort of stuff. But now we've got key rings in there as well.
They are seriously quality. They are nice. Have you sent mine already? Is it going to get here soon? Or?
I haven't sent it yet. And also there's a video of them being made that I have. So I will link to that in
that's nice.
in the description.
Very satisfying watching leather work happen.
Yes. And this is a satisfying video with really nice sounds as well. Nice audio, as I played some of earlier.
Good work.
Did you have any secret words you needed to smuggle into the show for your daughter
Yes.
today?
They are written on my...
Oh, yeah, I can see all the ink on your hand, but you haven't read them.
No.
No, of course not.
No.
They're literally, they're hard to miss.
I'm going to get a kick up the butt.
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
Bois. Yes.
Testes wasn't one of the other ones.
No. How did I manage to say that and not say but?
But, yeah.
Golly gosh.
And what was the other word?
It was bois, which is a bois, which is like a made-up word. That's a very important made-up word in with my daughters and friends.
That would have been hard to drop in.
It's literally written on my hand. Terrible. I'm a terrible dad. This could be a Bluey episode, actually, where it's like the dad continually fails.